2013 and signed into law in 2014. And I helped coordinate over 120 farms, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations that signed a letter addressed to you, your committee, in support of passing that bill. And for my work as a grassroots organizer with Malt, I had the opportunity to speak with hundreds of concerned citizens across the state during that time, ranging from consumers, moms concerned about what they're feeding their kids, farmers, small grocers, small business owners, doctors, teachers, professors, and other countless individuals that overwhelmingly want to see genetically modified organisms labeled here in Maine. I have never worked on a campaign in my entire life that has had such an overwhelming support from so many different people, from so many different backgrounds. I literally never came across somebody of the public that was like, no, this is not a good idea. Never. That didn't happen. I spent all of my time talking to people about it. It's time to honor what the people of Maine want and amend this law to put it in effect now. With more and more GMO food in the marketing pipeline, we're hearing about apples today and what's next, potatoes, and who knows. It's your responsibility to ensure the public that they do have the right to know that they're buying with their hard-earned money, what they're feeding their children, and what we're putting in our bodies. And just I want to end on the fact that I think we keep ignoring that glyphosate is poured directly onto these plants as an herbicide. It's designed to kill life, and people then eat this plant. Look at it in its exact what we're actually doing, and maybe people don't want to do that. Thanks.
Thank you, Jesse. Next.
Dan Walker.
I'll be very short. I put my name on the list, just I wanted to make sure that the committee considered and heard from the experts on the Vermont case. It's with regard to what you're dealing with here, it's groundbreaking. It's everything that you heard, that what would happen if we were challenged, especially around the First Amendment issue, which is the key issue here. It was not dismissed. In fact, the court said they're going to consider it under a reasonable relation test, which is the lower level of scrutiny. So it's going to it's got a great chance in Vermont, and we didn't know how it was going to turn out. I think we were confident that it was going to be the lower standard, but now we know that the State Circuit decided on that. I just wanted to make sure that that was underlined. So, thank you.
Any questions? Dan? Representative Marine?
Thank you. I wonder if you might tell us your name again and the firm that you represent and what organization you represent.
Oh, sorry. Dan Walker. I'm here with Pretty. I represent OCA, and I'm with the law firm Pretty Flaherty.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Alan Lover. Nancy O'Neill. And Richard King, Bruce Krupke, Jennifer McNamara, Madison Young, and Jane Lee.
I need more than the names there, but thank you. And I'm going to put it in the
Nancy, you brought us some reading material?
Yes, I also, as you may know, emailed you some reading material, including this, but I spent my little Social Security money this month on printing this booklet out for you because it is so important. I'm not on anybody's payroll, so this is on my own. And I don't have the strength of the bigger groups to put forth a redo of 718.
I'll let you finish signing.
She'll carry it
Okay.
back.
Everybody wants labeling. I don't think there's not a whole lot of discussion about whether or not GMOs should be labeled.
Could you repeat your name?
Oh, sorry, Nancy Oden. I live in Jonesboro, Maine, and I have Clean Earth Farms. I'm an organic farmer. I've been in Washington County for 36 years, and I was born, because people need to know this, I wasn't born in Maine. I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, and have lived in the Midwest and other places, and the nation's capital. I've been here 36 years, and I'm a farmer. I grow meat for animals, sheep, geese, ducks, chickens, and a lot of produce. And people who raise animals, in particular for meat, you deal a lot with life and death, and you get a certain perspective on what's right and what isn't. And genetically modifying plants and animals out of their natural genetics is just wrong. Now, what's wrong with LD 991? It's simply a redo, removing the trigger from 718, which I opposed, and I had a letter. I'm a member of MOFGA and OCA. I opposed 718. I wrote a letter in the MOFGA newsletter excoriating MOFGA for supporting it, because it excludes food that people say they didn't know was genetically engineered from animals that have been fed genetically modified foods. If you get milk, meat, eggs, chicken, beef, pork, if they've been fed GMO food, corn and soy, you will eat that and it will be in your body. That was excluded in 718. Also packaged foods, and most importantly and critically, seeds. Imagine somebody goes to the store, they buy a packet of seeds, they don't know if the seeds aren't labeled, could be GMO. They plant these seeds that have toxic bacteria, viruses, I don't have time to go into all that, but it's in your testimony, and pesticides and antibiotics, which the Monsanto, Bayer, Dow, DuPont use as markers in those seeds. So you're eating what should be healing antibiotics for people, you're eating them in those foods too. So people won't know. They plant the foods, maybe they grow them what they think is organically, and they treat them very nicely. Maybe they sell them, and they eat them. They feed them to their families. They will not know that they are eating those toxic materials that are in the GMO seeds. I am most upset about the seeds. It's just, and nobody knew it. It just got sneaked in at the end there, and it's on the last sentence of the amended version of 718 from the last legislative session. It was very badly done, very badly done. So I am saying that if you are serious about labeling GMO foods, 718, which is now 991, does not do it, which is why I asked my Senator, David Burns, to introduce 1326, which is the only bill that will really label all genetically modified organisms. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Hutton.
Richard King.
Senator Edgecombe, Representative Hickman, and distinguished members of the committee. I prepared my talk about 991, but if 1326 went through and banned all GMOs, not banned GMOs, but labeled all GMO products, including feeds, I would not be opposed to that. The regulation of food and drugs began for good reason and with the best intent, and that was to protect unsuspecting consumers from the callousness and greed of producers and suppliers. The loss of connection between food and its origin began in the 19th century as our population abandoned farming for industrial jobs and immigrants settled in our cities. Swill milk, the bluish milk product of malnourished cows confined in filthy conditions and fed unnatural food, distillery mash, was routinely mixed with chalk, water, rotten eggs, flour, burnt sugar, and other adulterants, and then marketed falsely as pure country milk. In 1906, the original Food and Drug and Meat Inspection Acts were passed on the same day as a result of the exposure of the use of poisonous preservatives and dyes in foods and the unsanitary conditions of meatpacking plants. Throughout the 20th century, small family farms declined as agribusiness grew and came to dominate the food industry. The silent majority quietly accepted the way the world had changed and came to believe the hype of advertisers and the directives of governments. We were told not to eat butter, but to eat hydrogenated fats. That was bad advice. We were told not to eat eggs because of the cholesterol, proven to be incorrect. We were asked to eat an engineered fat called olestra. Our bodies rejected it. The FDA wanted a label that stated in part, this product contains olestra. Olestra may cause abdominal cramping and loose stools. I'm glad that the consumers had a choice to make. And perhaps a handful of partially truthful advertising campaigns, a chiffon margarine commercial from the 1970s brought an iconic phrase to our world. It's not nice to fool Mother Nature. That phrase is still, and perhaps even more relevant today, as the greed of the corporate food industry grows unabated. We are being told that GMO products are safe. They may be, I don't know. But how long did it take to acknowledge that hydrogenated oils were killing us? I, for one, do not wish to be a GMO guinea pig. We deserve the right to choose the food we eat based on fully disclosed product information. If I remember correctly, the tobacco industry did not want warning labels on its deadly products, and the beverage industry did not want the bottle bills. But we have them, and they have made a difference. LD 991 should be passed now because the only people interested in not having it passed are the GMO producers, and they seem to have something to hide. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Bruce Krupke.
Welcome, Bruce.
Jennifer McNamara will be next. Madison Young, Brendan Newbert, Alan Clements, and Donna H. are on deck.
Good afternoon, Senator Edgecombe, Representative Hickman, distinguished members of the Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry Committee. My name is Bruce Krupke. I'm the Executive Vice President for the Northeast Dairy Foods Association. We're a trade association that represents dairy product processors, manufacturers, distributors, and producers in the Northeast, including the New England states and also here in Maine. Our association opposes mandatory labeling of genetically modified organisms, commonly known as GMOs. A copy of our association's full position statement regarding GMOs is attached to my testimony for your reference. We respectfully request you deny passage of LD 991. Why? Because consumption of GMO foods are safe for both humans and animals. We've all been consuming them for over 20 years. The science is sound, the food is safe, and there is no evidence to the contrary. As you know, GMO foods are found in 70 to 80% of the foods we eat and play a vital role in Maine's agriculture, food processing, and other industries. In addition, they keep agriculture production costs low, save hardworking Americans money, and food prices as food prices continue to rise. A recent study by Cornell University showed that differing state labeling requirements could cost American families anywhere between $500 to $1,500 annually at the grocery store. GMO labeling hurts Maine's farmers' ability to be competitive, and the patchwork of state labeling requirements will increase their costs and the cost to our consumers. Consumers who do not wish to consume food products that contain GMOs already have many choices and options. They can choose organic labeled foods in stores. Passing LD 991 into law is unwise and unnecessary. I encourage all the members of the committee to consider the many consequences of implementing an immediate state mandatory GMO labeling law. The state of Vermont was first to pass a mandatory GMO labeling law. The law is currently being challenged by different food groups, citing constitutional interstate trade arguments, placing undue regulatory burden on the food industry, and requiring misleading labels in their products. We question the need to implement the immediate mandatory GMO labeling law in Maine while being challenged in the courts. Should food groups prevail, the legal cost of Vermont is estimated to be in the millions of dollars. Certainly, a more prudent route would be to wait until Vermont's law has been decided in the courts before proceeding with LD 991. Maine taxpayers should not be burdened with the legal cost of defending passage of LD 991. For their sake, why not wait until the courts have decided to issue a decision in Vermont? A decision of Vermont should be known before the current GMO labeling law repeal date of January 1st, 2018 arrives. We encourage you to contact your federal legislators. Encourage them to initiate a federal solution to this topic. I'll finish there with 12 seconds to go. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I also attached a memo opposing the LD 1326. Thank you.
Our chair has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Crosby, for your testimony. I've highlighted the strong statement that you have in the third paragraph, last sentence. We have all been consuming them, meaning GMO foods, for over 20 years. The science is sound, the food is safe, and there is no evidence to the contrary. How did you come up with that?
My responsibility at the trade association as the chief executive officer is to provide our board of directors with all the information that we can on all topics that come before our association. Where our association's board of directors adopt a policy, it's done based on information that I provide them through research, through our staff, and through professionals that deal with the topics that we're talking about. In this particular case, I have worked with many individuals that are professionals in this field. One in particular, I refer you to her work. Her name is Dr. Margaret Smith. She's a professor at Cornell University in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. She's in the School of Integrative Plant and Science, Plant Breeding, and Genetics section. Dr. Smith is a leading scientist in the area. She'd be happy to provide you with information regarding the topic that you're talking about today. Besides her, I've had the opportunity to do years of research on this information. If I were to see just one reputable, legitimate, scientific, peer-reviewed information that the genetic foods are harmful in any way or nutritionally different, it'd be my responsibility to provide that to my board of directors and to our association's members. 120 different companies and organizations and businesses, not only here in Maine, but throughout the Northeast. And if I found that, it would be the first responsibility to have, provide that to them, and then we review it and possibly take a different opinion.
If there's no evidence to the contrary, have you lobbied the Food and Drug Administration to actually test GMO foods to find out if they are safe?
We've encouraged.
They do not.
We are encouraging, yes, we are encouraging federal legislators. It's their responsibility on the federal level to work with FDA to make that information known. So we have.
But they haven't done the tests. And I'm wondering if you have lobbied the FDA to actually start conducting their own tests so that these scientific peer-reviewed reports that may strengthen your argument would actually exist. And right now they do not.
Right.
So I'm wondering if your organization is lobbying the FDA to ensure that GMO foods are actually as safe as they are claimed.
We have not, and we are not currently.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Representative Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony. Can you provide for us, by the work session, either a copy of or a citation for the Cornell University study that you referenced near the bottom of the first page? Perhaps that was work done by the professional who just identified.
No, actually, it was not Dr. Smith that did that study. It was someone else, part of the Cornell staff. And the answer is yes, I can provide that.
Thank you.
And I'd be happy to.
Seeing no further questions, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Jennifer McNamara. Going once. Going twice. Madison Young. Oh, I think these were the students. Yes. Alan Clements. Donna H. I can't pronounce the last name because I can't read it. There's no location. Leslie Cummins. And while she signs in, is Autumn Brooks still in the room?
Anybody know if there's anyone still in the waiting room outside?
There comes some of them. Oh, you're still there, okay. I just wanted to see if you were right. Thank you.
Chairman Edgecombe and Chairman Hickman and the others. I'm a farmer of 30 years, NAFTA certified, true fruit. I'm not happy about the new GMO apple, the Arctic apple, because there isn't, for one reason, there is an existing apple out there already that will not get brown when cut open, and that is the Cortland